So we're very fortunate, very, very fortunate. It's really funny. A quick story here that we wanted to bring Keith out here to Silicon Harlem, and I happened to meet him. I've known Keith for many, many years, but we ended up at the same place in San Francisco a few weeks ago, and we were able to sort of lock it down. So very, very happy that he's been able to make it tonight. We're going to shorten his bio because most of you may already know him, and for those of you who don't, he is the CEO of Revolt TV, and the logo is right there. So I just want to say Keith has been a pioneer, I mean, for many, many years. And in particularly in the last 7 to 10 years where he's really become what we call a digerati, where he's been a real sort of leader in the digital space. And like I said, many of you have read his publications, have seen his work on the web, and now you're seeing him move his skills. As they say, he's taken his skills to television, and actually cross-platform. So we're going to have a quick Q&A with Keith, and you guys can ask questions as well. Please wait for the mic to get to you. But without further ado, please welcome Keith Clinkscales, CEO of Revolt TV. So Keith, I have a couple of prepared questions, and you can take this any way you want to go. But let's start out with, what is Revolt TV?
Leave the mic here? Or
Yeah, you can keep it there or in your hand right here.
I mean, mainly what it is what we try to do is make sure we have a music platform. The most important thing was to work very hard to reach an audience that hasn't had a chance to have music. Right now, when you turn on to channels that are named music, you see shows about, people hitting people. Mm-hmm. You'll see shows about, different things that are occurring. But at the end of the day, there's music, and people that are people talk about, well, reality shows are working. And I learned at ESPN, nothing beats reality. Like when you look, I don't know if any of you watched the Rangers game when the Rangers were playing, fighting for their lives against the Los Angeles team, and Los Angeles won at the last minute, or some of the excitement of the World Cup. That's real. You can't script that. When you have Kanye, you can't script that. You mean that just comes. You got to let that go. When you have Katy Perry, that's where it is. When you watch Rihanna, her whole Rihanna-ness, is just, that's real, and that's what we want to make sure that we get to. When you think about people in the digital space, young people, they are passionate about music. When you look at the top Twitter, people who follow, that are followed on Twitter the most, most of those people, 8 out of the top 10, 16 out of the top 20 on Twitter are music people. And there'll be someone in there like, President Obama or somebody like that. But for the most part, you're talking about the music stars, And no, this is no disrespect to President Obama. It's just that the reality is that younger people, they are passionate about their, what's going on in music. They're passionate about what they have to say, and they're passionate about the culture. So what Revolt is an opportunity to kind of revolt against the way things have been. One of the things I hear from people, they're like, young kids are like, it's cool that you guys play videos, Like, now for all of us who grew up of a certain age, you're used to a time where videos were played all the time. But younger people, they haven't had that. They have YouTube and they have Vivo and things like that. But the experience of curation, the experience of saying, this is hot and here's why you should know about it, that's what we have to do. And then, moreover, you got to make sure you reach all music. There's we do a good job with EDM and alternative, but we've got more work to do with reggae. We definitely have work to do with Latin music all the way around the board to try to find different ways to get it in, all the different types of fusions. But music is a deep territory, so we're happy with it. Again, referring back to my ESPN experience, when ESPN launched, people were like, well, a network all the time of all sports, that's a dumb idea. It's just not going to work. I mean, is there enough to put on there? Really? and and sports is covered every night on the nightly news and things like that. So that's how they do it. And people say some things like that to us about music. Is there enough music to cover? Oh, there's plenty of music to cover. And are enough people that are interested in it? There's plenty of people that are interested in it. You have to cover music with the same passion, the same psychosis that people who follow sports, they have that. They deserve that. If you're a Knicks fan, you are like, what is Phil Jackson going to do? You're just sitting there, just wondering what's going to happen, And then people who are following, either Jay-Z or Beyonce and all the different things that are coming up. The BET Awards are this weekend. The MTV Awards come up soon. And by taking the approach that like we're a CNN or an ESPN, we have the ability not to have to compete, but cover the whole space, and cover it comfortably. Why? Because we're into what the fans are into. We are for the fans, by the fans, for the artists, by the artists. And then the other thing that's changing out, many years ago, I ran a magazine called Vibe. So when I ran Vibe, this was like pre-internet, Vibe used to be powerful in its day, you couldn't, Vibe was, so to be able, but things change, digital happens, Napster happens, albums are not important anymore, singles change, everything else like that. So now the way music is marketed and the way music is bought, music is not even really bought anymore, Music is really purchased. You still have, really leased, you lease it through streaming, you lease it through different types of opportunities that you have. But you still have record executives saying things like, with piracy and things like that. To a young person, to a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid, that's not piracy. You want music, you go get it. You don't sit around and discuss who gets paid for that's another issue. That's another issue. And more importantly, the flip side has happened too. The price of tickets, for concerts and performance has inverted. So artists are now in more commercials and things like that. The ecosystem has changed drastically. I think that's our job at Revolt, to go ahead and be part of that ecosystem and try to make the changes that we can.
Well, it's an awesome business model. When we were out in LA at the cable show, you and Sean got up there and we're talking, and he kept referring to the network as you are tonight as similar to CNN and ESPN. And one of the things that struck me when he was talking was about Revolt is a good investment. So can you expound on that? Like, what was he trying to get out there?
I think what the main thing he was trying to get at is that the idea that he had about the audience is a powerful audience. I make fun of some of the reality shows and things like that, but those sisters can light up Twitter. They can make things happen like technology has not seen before. So the power of that group is something that we want to talk about. So when we say it's a good investment, it's a revolution. The thinking when we came along with Revolt, the discussion with Deshaun all the time is, are you trying to be another MTV? Are you trying to be another MTV? And the reality is no, we're not trying to be another MTV. MTV has done a good job, and one of the reasons why Sean is even Sean is because of MTV and BET and things like that. But nowadays, it has changed drastically. Folks are looking at their phones, young people especially. They're not as TV centric. You've got to find more ways to bring them back into it. And the metaphor is one of urgency, the one of news, the one of power. So what is important to the audience that we're going after is music and what's happening with these folks. That's why we use the metaphor of ESPN or the metaphor of CNN. While the plane was missing, CNN talked to you about the size of the plane, what types of planes, fly like this, what happens with radar beacons. I've learned more about search devices and all the different things like that, because that was their job, to take you deeper and deeper and deeper into a story. And the question comes up, could you really do too much on something like the plane story? The answer is no. You know, no, you can't do too much. You keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it till you find the situation. It can be annoying to folks, but at the end of the day, that's your job. The same thing in sports. You know, and you like sports, you get strap in because you're going to be LeBroning for quite some time. You know what I mean? As he decides what he's going to do. So it's our job to go ahead and find out, you know, what is going to happen next with the different music artists. What decisions are they making? How have some of the things that have come up, the new labels that are coming up, the Macklemores of the world, Kevin Lyles and Lyor Cohen launching 300, you know, Nicki Minaj just being Nicki Minaj and finding different ways to do it. You know, the influence of the South, you know, the shifting of the power of hip hop down to the South, all the different movements that are occurring. That's what we have to cover.
So, where's the damn plane?
Don't know.
So you've talked about this very informative and really important audience, the young folks out there. So, how do you look at them as influencers? Are they the, sort of the people that are setting the new paths as it relates to media? Are they starting to influence brands in a way that we've never seen before?
Yeah, first of all, the younger people of today are much smarter than we give them credit for, and they were way smarter than we were at their time. So you've got to approach them with a whole different situation. First of all, you're not talking to them. You can talk with them, but there's none of this talking to them. The moment you talk to them, you're not really engaging in the type of situation that they're used to engaging in. They live in a world where they don't have to ask your permission to speak. They don't have to ask your permission to show up on a show. They have their own ability to create broadcasts and commentary. So you've got to make sure that whatever way you're dealing with them is interactive. First of all. Secondly, you've got to make sure it's authentic. It respects the game. It's got to respect the game. You can't fake the game, and you've got to work hard to make sure you have that authenticity. And then, most importantly, you've got to be able to make sure that after you go ahead and have that interactive discussion, after you have the authenticity, make sure you let the conversation flow. Let them control it. They've got to feel like they have the ability to control it. They've got to feel like they have some say, because there are too many other ways for them to have say. And they should have that say, because that technology and the way they've developed it and the way they've used it and the way they've implemented it, is something special. Like when the BET Awards comes on, right? Yes, it's nice to be there, but it's really cool to sit there and watch it on TV and then have Twitter up at the same time and kind of watch a third screen experience. So you're watching whoever's on stage, and you're watching all the jokes that people are making and saying about it, and that's really fun. That's something that has changed the game. And then the way things are wrapped up afterwards, what you get to see is really great. So that is the kind of world we live in, and that type of thinking has to permeate every programming decision we make. You cannot make programming decisions the way they used to be made. You've got to make them for the people, the only people that matter, and that's the young people. So
you guys are going to be able to ask the questions in just a moment. I just had a couple more that I wanted to get out of my system. So platforms in general, but more importantly, how your cross-platform strategy has been put together. From what I've been able to, I've actually engaged in Revolt, even though I'm out of the demographic, and I find it very comprehensive. I mean, on every one of my devices. So, what's been the strategy around that, and is it a model that others should be sort of mimicking, or do you see it sort of out there already?
I mean, it's a model that we mimicked from, we looked at what ESPN does, and we looked at what CNN does. So before Revolt was a television, a cable channel, it was on Instagram and it was on Twitter, and we basically started that way. Then we had more of a news rundown kind of website before we expanded to the larger website. But the site that you see now, Revolt TV, did not launch till after we had launched the network on October 21st. So having that discussion early on Twitter and such, and YouTube, that gave us a good way to develop a digital voice and to hear some things back. And a lot of markets don't have Revolt. We're in about 40 markets. We're in New York, through Time Warner, but a lot of you who live in places that's Cablevision or people that have Fios, we don't have that yet. We're working on it.
They're here.
You know, and the way this works. And let me just say this here while I have you. If you want it, you know, pick up the phone, call. You have to call. You have to call, and you have to ask. That is the cruel reality of the world we live in, because there's only a certain number of people that control what goes on. Now, DirecTV is somebody that we're also hoping to get as well. You know, you gotta work and fight for that. But the main thing about the platforms were to make sure that all content does not exist the same way in all the places. You know, some things can go play everywhere, but a lot of things don't work all the way. And then Sean, master marketer, you know, has done a lot in the digital space. He's done a lot through his Twitter feed. You know, he shows the way a lot, you know, and there's different things that we've done with Vine, and there's different things that we've done with YouTube, and there's different linkages that we have from Instagram to link back to something somewhere else. So the whole marketing and promotion of it has been an education, you know, and I feel like I'm sitting at the hand of a master, a true master, watching it get put together.
That is interesting. Bruce, did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Keith, what have you learned in terms of, and you've alluded to it somewhat, as you look at your market, the role of data as it helps you understand where the culture is now so that you can really take advantage of that?
I think you can't even run media nowadays without having a good innate knowledge of data and making sure you're finding as many data points as possible. And also making sure you don't get false reads, because when you're the problem with television is that until you are distributed fully across the country, it's hard to tell if a rating is really a rating, because everybody doesn't have the same access to it. So you've got to rely heavily on, like, you know, how many tweets come up for this, and what does the Nielsen how that ties in. You've got to look at how different things occur on your site, how deep people go into different situations. You've got to find data where it is, and it's not so much the data itself, it is the interpretation, not for the point of proving a point, but for the point of kind of reading and getting a good guess on where people are going next, and trying to pay as much attention to that as possible.
So, any questions in the audience? That I know that there's going to be a few. We only have Keith for a few more minutes, so unless you're going to stay all night, Keith.
I'm excellent, young lady.
All right, so we have some in the back here. I'm going to try to get the mic to you.
Okay.
Basically, I wanted to know how you guys are changing the advertising experience. I know Hulu does some stuff right now where I'm sure most people in here see, like, where you click on like 8 questions on Hulu, and I think they're just doing research, but I know that's like a Toyota, and the fact that I remember it's Toyota is special. But I know that it's a Toyota advertisement, and so I was wondering, like, what you guys are doing, because you're much cooler than like Toyota asking me about Mindy Kaling. So, like, you know, what are you guys doing to like evolve the advertising experience? And quick second half of that question is just, since you guys aren't in every home already, I realize that because of the Aereo decision today that subscription fees are a huge part of your business. But I'm wondering, are you guys like considering maybe going like Netflix-ish, so I can pay you $12 a year and just watch Revolt, since you don't have those standing relationships?
Well,
and I'm done.
Okay, you got to stop, because you're gonna get me in trouble. So okay, so here let's take the first on the evolving advertising. We work with advertisers now, especially the agencies. They're working hard to make sure they don't have branded content, but they have, you know, native advertising, and they find different ways to make sure that their brand messages come across in a way that's not as abrupt, you know, and not as not interrupting. Probably one of the smoothest and best at this that I've seen in the last couple of months has been Beats by Dre. You know, you can't watch a big game without these guys coming in with the headphones around their neck. And then if you go to a high school and you go to a football game, or you go to those young kids are coming in with those beats, and you see the thing at Apple. I think that's an excellent example of that, and they worked hard by working with people like us and other media partners to do it. Many of you might have seen the Fiat commercial where it had Sean Combs in a Fiat commercial. That Fiat commercial yielded the best first quarter in the history, in Fiat's history. So after something works, and then we were part of the media mix, and he was part of it as a celebrity, it's easier to go ahead and get more money when something works. So I think that's been something that's helped us. In regards to your second question about the Arrow decision, we get paid a lot of money from Comcast and Time Warner, so you got to be careful. They are your partners, and we are blessed that we are able to get them to put us on those networks to the tune of several million homes. So while I am frustrated I'm not on DirecTV, and I'm frustrated that we're not on a couple places yet, I will bide my time, and I will work with Sean, and we'll grit our teeth, and we'll keep going through and make sure people understand that we are hot like fire. And if you don't have us, you're going to have a problem. That's our job. Our job is to make sure that we show them that. We're thinking about different over-the-top situations, but probably not with the same content that we put on Revolt, because that content we have sold to the cable business, and we want to make sure that they feel that they should pay us for the stuff that we have, and we don't want to say, oh, we're taking our best stuff and putting it here over the top. But there's a lot of room in the world, so we'll be able to do that. The thing that our job is to talk to the cable companies. Cable companies talk about cord cutters. They talk, very romantically about cord cutters, people cutting the cords, and that's not necessarily the case. The young people of today, they're cord nevers. They're not ain't getting it of the cord. We don't need the cord. The bill is what? $120 a month? You crazy? No, I'm not doing that. What they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and get a Netflix subscription. They'll get a Hulu thing. If they want to watch a game, they're going to go down to the bar with their boys and their girls and make it a social event, as opposed to sitting around trying to haggle about that. Or they'll get the digital box they can put on for the local channels. But that number is a real number. So the thing that we are trying to talk to the cable companies about is say, listen, the reason why you need a Revolt is because you need to have some content that younger people who are training their mindset, have a reason to come to Revolt for. Regardless of race, color, creed, all the different types of things, you want people. Everybody loves music, and that's why you want to do it. When I came out of college a million years ago, I got cable before I got power, okay? I was like cable first, all right? And then we worried about everything else, because having like HBO and MTV at that time was so just important to my life. You just had to have it, you had to have it. And that energy, is beginning to leave younger people because we're not providing them with the options. And more importantly, when I got cable, that choice, I had to make that choice. Why? Because there was nowhere else to go. There was no other place to go. This is the time where the content really matters, and because we have kind of a democratization of it, that's the challenge we have. The Arrow thing, I think I'm a little sad about the Arrow thing in the sense that it's innovation. That would have been a nice network to have in the event that cable goes down. In the event that cable goes down for whatever reason, there's an EMP blast or some new thing that we don't know about, or the Transformers are landing today, you don't know what could happen to cable. It's nice to have just another system, So I'm glad that the cable companies and the broadcasters won the battle, and I understand the whole issue, but at the same time, I would have liked to have seen another way to deal with the innovation. That's all,
Well, they could always build a box.
Yeah.
They might.
Yeah.
Other questions? Young lady?
Hello, I'm actually part of your target audience. Probably I'm 17 and I'm going to be a future software developer. This is just an idea and kind of a question. Do you think Revolt TV would ever be available as an app where, let's say I'm on my phone, let's say I'm not at home, but I do pay for your service, I can bring it up on my phone and end up watching some Revolt TV. Do you think that's ever possible?
Okay. If you look on your phone right now, it's there. Yeah, it's available in the Apple stores, and it's available in the Android or the Google.
Wonderful, wonderful.
It's,
First of all, let's give a hand to an aspiring software developer, 17. That's an awesome.
And if you have cable at home, if you have Time Warner, you can watch it you can watch the channel like TV everywhere. If not, you have other things that you can do. You're welcome.
Did I see other questions up here? Okay. Get over to you.
You guys are so polite. You can just yell it out. We can hear you.
How you doing? Charles Leak, one of the founding members of Harlem World Crew, the club that used to be right there on 116th Street.
I understand.
A lot of history there. Our group was actually one of the reasons that Sugar Hill Gang, Sylvia Robinson, actually put her, actually put them on record. Because of the Harlem World Crew.
I got it.
But my question to you was with your television station, Revolt, and I hear you speak about the hip hoppers of today and how they have more of an entrepreneurship mentality. It's true that there are some very successful ones, but on the flip side of that, there are a lot of guys who are misguided. There are a lot of rappers and aspiring rappers that are misguided about the venue. I was a little concerned about this comment that you made where you don't talk to these guys, you got to talk around these guys. I'm paraphrasing.
You are paraphrasing, so tell me, before you paraphrase me and get me in all kinds of trouble, you don't talk around nobody. So what do you mean?
I don't recall, as you said, you don't talk to these guys.
You talk with them.
You talk with them.
You
guys.
talk with them.
Yes.
Yeah, you talk with them.
Yeah. My question, my thought there was, and you said they already know. Some of them don't know. So you have this platform here, which is a great platform, and maybe I'm misunderstanding the whole concept behind the platform. But are you going to utilize this platform to have some of these up and coming artists to educate them on what it is to be a professional? Those that are misguided about what this industry is, or are you just looking to get that content out there and make it exciting and make it new and crazy and would let it go reckless abandon?
I appreciate your question. It's a good question. Over the year, a lot of dollars have been lost trying to educate people on, tell them what you think they should be educated on. You'll go to cocktail parties, especially with black folks. You go to you go to cocktail parties and they'll say, you need to say something good, or you need to have something that's educational and redeeming to the community. And then you go ask them, okay, what movie are you gonna go see? I'm gonna go see Booty Call. Yes, you are. So how you are in the thing. So I'm not dismissing your question, but here's the point. The younger folks today, right? They don't, you're not going to educate them. They're going to educate you. The moment you think you're going to educate them, you have lost. You have no further discussion. It is over. Wrap. So you can go ahead and try to, but I don't think you get the resonance there. A lot of times there'll be songs that'll come out in the office, and they'll be based on other songs that I knew from back in my day in the '90s, right? And in the '90s, and they're like, no, that's not where that song came from. Old school today is like Nelly. Okay, Nelly's old school. Okay, Ludacris is like Run DMC now, okay? You gotta put things in proper perspective. So, it's hard. And then by the time you go back to the, Sugar Hill and Sylvia Robinson, and you get Cool Herc up there, and then these cats don't want to hear it. I just got done. One of the biggest arguments I had was working with my man Stephen Hill at BET. I had this vision. I had your vision, brother. I had your vision to make sure when I did this documentary called The Message, and I wanted to make sure that we talked about the contributions that these older artists have laid down, and they were professionals in some of the things that they have done. And it's difficult because you can get some of them, but today things have changed. And also you got to think about the economic power of these artists. Drake, for all the issues up down, he is a phenom. Nicki Minaj is a phenom. If you go ahead and get Nicki Minaj angry at you and you get her barbs in motion, that you're going to have a situation. So the thing about it is like I think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's the best thing in the world to approach this audience with what we're going to tell you, because they're empowered through technology, and their voice is heard, and I think that type of situation is something that has liberated them and provided them something that we just didn't have.
We have hold on. We have a question over here. I know. By the way, mark your calendars in October for the Stewart Film Festival that this man CJ is head of. So Keith, can you quickly talk about your biggest challenge right now with Revolt TV? I know you talked about not having as much carriage as you would want, and that's something very important. Are there other challenges besides that you're sort of up against?
I mean, there's many challenges, but carriage and access to the airwaves is the biggest one for a cable network, because it's a very chicken and egg. The more carriage you have, the more people that can see you. The more people that can see you, the better chance you have to develop shows and broaden your offering. So that's the main one. What is not a challenge is talent. There's a lot of wonderful music talent out there that does great things. So we're very pleased about that. And what also is not a challenge is technology. What technology has done to music video is just incredible. The third video played on Revolt, for you guys that have it, is a video called Shine by a group called Audio Push, a group that, never had heard of them before. But I remember when I sat with these guys, the director, Nem Perez, he showed me a video that they made for $3,000, right? And this video is an accurate, comedic depiction of the movie Friday with young people. You know what I mean? And it's a great video, and it's a great song, and the whole bit came along real nicely. And looking at that moment, that same video in the era that I came up in would have been, $400,000 or $500,000 video based on the way things go. And they really shot it. They shot it that way. I think the biggest challenge is to continue to make sure we keep the process democratic. We allow people who have good stuff to go ahead and get it out, and not be the gatekeepers. Be the portal, because there's too many different ways for people to get to. The old media thing was, you bring us the content, we decide if it's good enough, and then we put it out there. The new situation is, make sure you get it out so as many different ways as possible, so everybody has access to it and they decide. That's the challenge.
Well, one of the things about your network is that your fans can actually become part of the programming. Mm-hmm. How does that work? I mean, they literally are shooting themselves on video and it's incorporated in the shows?
Well, Clayton, that's a good question. I don't quite know. We're working on that right now. We are in the app. We are working on we have a facility that's kind of Skype-like, but it comes through our master programming center. So it allows people to talk to one another, but on the air through whatever device they're using. And also we have a hotline for artists. So if Lil Wayne is upset about something, or Lord really wants to correct something, they have the ability to break in to the network, and it kind of flashes, and that's the kind of thing that we want to have. So it creates more of a discussion point So when folks are doing things, we kind of can turn the network over at certain points. There's a delay on it, of course, for FCC regulations and things like that, but that's how you go.
That's very disruptive, which is, I think, the nature of the network. We have another short question here.
I found it interesting that when you were mentioning about trying to get the other providers to carry Revolt, I expected you to say, you said call them as opposed to getting on social media or, the ways that I think that we would be accustomed to now in 2014. I was just curious about that. Like, is it something that you think that would work better because you're calling them, or is...
Yeah, I say call for a reason. So when you get, you can get Twitter things going and you can send emails, but the good old fashioned call, when you're dealing with folks that have been, that's how that's how cable channels get on. People get upset, people call, and things happen. You saw it when Weather Channel was put off of DirecTV, people were upset, but, they called, but DirecTV is tough, A couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember with Cablevision, right before the Oscars came on, they were in the middle of a fight, and they were like, well, you're not going to be able to watch the Academy Awards, How do you like that, You saw it last year or the year before with CBS and Time Warner, and we got football coming, and Time Warner's like, we're going to hold the ground. So it is important that consumers are heard from, because you also have choices. If you're unhappy, you can say, look, we're going to switch to this, or we're going to switch to that. And I think that's the kind of thing that folks need to hear. At the same time, for networks that are independent, we're an independent network. We're not part of a conglomerate. Sometimes you're not, you don't have leverage. So the only leverage that we have is that we're bringing young people that are energetic, and they are the future of watching television.
And I would say do both. I mean, you can call, but these cable providers are definitely listening online to what people are. They're not listening as close as we'd like them to, but they are definitely listening. And I can remember years back when we launched South Park on Comedy Central, we had such a hard time getting people to launch Comedy Central until the university's kids started calling the cable company saying we wanted South Park, and it launched nationwide. So there is power in that voice.
Hello. I'm right now, but I'm also a wannabe entrepreneur. I was gonna say, do you have a few tips or guidelines that you would suggest for people who want to be entrepreneurs one day?
I think you shouldn't stop. I think you should stay as persistent as possible. You've got to get extremely comfortable and almost make it part of your essence. Learning about hearing the word no. You can't do it. Here's why it's not going to work. Here's why you're whack. All those different things. That's failures and mini failures are kind of part and parcel of it. Learning along the way and finding it out. That's a good thing. And also, like using small victories, small technological victories is different. Like back in the day, I used to launch magazines. You had to take big bets. You had to basically get money, put it down, put it out there. If it worked, and you had to fix it along the way if it wasn't working. Now you have the ability to. There was a show. I don't know if any of you saw Awkward Black Girl on YouTube. It's a show by this girl Issa Rae. I mean, it was a show. It was a good show. And you could tell a couple things. One, she knows how to write. Two, she knows how to direct. But more importantly, she knows how to do it for a low cost. So, but you weren't sitting there. Oh, this is a low cost show. You just sat there and watched it because it was an enjoyable experience. So. If you have a development idea or something that will work or might not work, you got to just keep pushing it and don't stop.
Okay, we have a question in the back here.
Hi, Keith. I was just wondering, what is Revolt doing in terms of social impact? What are you guys doing? You guys are based in New York. What are you doing to strengthen the community? Besides being here, very appreciative, obviously, but...
I'm just not doing anything. I'm just surviving right now. I'm scraping. Leave me alone. When I make money, I'll do something for the community. No. All right. I'm sorry. That was my awful inside voice. That wasn't supposed to leap out. Okay. We just did yesterday. Monday. We just did a Hello Harlem. We had an event where we're going around to 12 different local restaurants here in Harlem, and we are fostering a conversation like we're having here. We've engaged and had a very solid internship program where we're able to bring people in, and then we also we took a bus called Revolt Nation, where we went around the college campuses all over the country. I think it was in 14 cities, and we wound up at South by Southwest and other places, and we basically engaged with the young people and had different discussions and try to find more ways so they had opportunities, not just for career opportunities, but so they can fuel their passion, they can fuel their creative passion. Then what we do is we work with the cable operators. So Time Warner has been great. They have been great. They, in different markets, they allow you to work with them to service folks and do things that they're doing in the local market. So by working with your partners, that's kind of like the best way. And then when we get bigger and stronger, I think we can do good for our business by doing good for the community. There's no community event that you've ever gone to that music's not prevalent in it. I just came back from Baltimore. Baltimore had a African American festival, and it was I forget how many years they've had it, but they kind of restarted it. But the main thing was music, and that's people were sitting down and playing their chairs. Sitting in their chairs. So I think that's the energy. And then every now and then, it's important to be news oriented. You'll have a Trayvon Martin incident. You'll have the other incident. I think it was a Jordan Smith. I might have the name wrong, so forgive me. Jordan Davis. I'm sorry, Jordan Davis. You'll have that situation. You'll have different situations where the Jordan situation was particularly tragic as well as Trayvon. But those kids were listening to music. So when listening to music starts becoming a problem, that's something that we have to report on and engage. So I think you cannot ask people for their culture and not think about different ways to better the community. That's just part of our fiber.
All right, we're going to take a couple of more questions. Keith is keeping it real with us.
Hey, Keith, I just had a question about content. So you said earlier that it's mostly curated content, especially on the television network. How do you balance curated content with the on-demand society that we're in today? A lot of apps, people just want to go through the search function and say, I specifically want to watch this content as opposed to the curated content. So how do you strike that balance?
Well, when I say curated, you got to keep in mind the beauty of today's world is when things get hot, you can see where they're getting hot. You can see, oh, this is hot in Memphis, or this is hot in Ontario, or this is banging in Florida for whatever reason. And you can see sometimes things bubble up nationally, whether it's on YouTube or World Star Hip Hop or different things like that. So the folks that work for us, they're young, they're bright, they're energetic, and they don't like to get beat. So when they're curating, they're working hard to make sure that they're paying attention to what's going on. They're just not like they're not being artistes and saying this is for you and that's for you. They are trying to make sure they find the different heat centers and the different points of influence that come on all over the place.
Right here.
Hi.
I would like to know what are some viewing trends that you've seen of your audiences, and also, do you see Revolt evolving into more like dramas, sitcoms, reality movies, or anything like that?
So let's answer your first question. I think one of the first things that you see when I ran Vibe, the music journalism was much more male oriented. Artists were men. There were female artists, of course, but it was the guys and hip hop and things like that. The game is inverted. The women. That Beyonce song, "To Run the World," and they clearly. The ladies are clearly running the show in terms of influence, and not just on the charts, but also the concentric circles of influence they have in terms of tweeting, talking, and engendering coverage. So you've got to make sure that you recognize the power of that audience, and you have to be careful make sure you integrate that into your thinking, not in a way where you set it aside, but it's a part of your whole situation. In terms of the second part of your question was, I'm saying again?
Do you see Revolt evolving into more like scripted programming or even like movies, dramas?
Yeah, I mean, like right now, you got to get to about, you got to get to a certain number of homes. Right now, you know, you got to give above 50, 60 million homes, which we're working to do. And then when you do that, then you can do the more, you know, reality shows we will probably stay away from for a little while because it's a competitive difference that we have against the other networks, you know. But I don't think, you know, if we get a chance to work with Drake like we've done and do one of his concerts, which was kind of a reality type of situation, we'll do that. We'll do documentaries. We'll do real reality. And then I'm watching, you know, shows like Power, you know, that are on us. I think it's on Stars. Yeah, Stars, and you know, so I'm watching shows like that. I'm watching Orange is the New Black. You know, I'm watching these types of shows and seeing how they come along and seeing what we can do that way when we get to a certain size. Our head of programming, you know, Val Borland, she comes from Comedy Central. You know, so the whole situation with, you know, the Chappelle Show and South Park and all the different types of things. All of us believe in the power of programming, but you've got to get your economics right, because when you do a show that's the size that you're talking about, a drama or something like that, these shows cost several $100,000, maybe even $1 million per episode. You know, when you're getting to the show levels like Breaking Bad, those are great shows, but they cost a couple $1 million an episode. So you've got to have a big enough audience so you can charge enough on advertising to make that back.
Okay, we'll take one more question, if we have it. Someone close here.
Hi, as someone who owns a small production company, when is your pitch period? When is your programming pitch period? Like,
I mean, you know, we don't have a pitch period, not because you can pitch anytime. The thing that we have worked hard to do is be able to kind of make our own programming. Like, so we have a studio in Los Angeles, and we have production people in New York, but we have a studio in Los Angeles, and what we do there is we do a show called Revolt Live. So we have several video shows that come on, but we have a show called Revolt Live, which is modeled after SportsCenter, you know, but it's not no sports. We deal with all music, you know, so, you know, no LeBron, we have Kanye, and we go, okay. So you get the whole thing. So and that show is designed that way. And that's a foundation of our programming. But if other people have ideas and things that might work, the best thing to do is to go ahead and you know, try to, you know, we've had agents come in and bring different ideas, the standard way, but we have been focused for a little while on what we're doing here. The network just launched in October, yeah. So we're getting our legs underneath us. The guy I work for is not renowned for his patience. You know, he's not. It's not. You know, it's not really. That's not one of his strong suits, his patience. So the main thing that we're doing is trying to make sure we get the business working and go from there. But look, if it's hot, you know, we're going to take a look at it. And how do I know it's hot? Because folks are talking about it. Other things are going down. So somebody who we'd like to work with is attached to it somehow. That's basically how it works. You know, little hustle.
Do you guys look? Excuse me. Do you look on YouTube for talent and things of that nature?
Absolutely. I mean, the opening thing when we were hiring talent, Sean did a contest on Instagram, and he put out a quick video and saying, you know, if you feel you could be a Revolt host, go ahead and send it in. So, you know, no problem. Thanks, Sean, for doing that. 15,000 videos later, 15,000, right? Wow. Videos later, you know, we had to cull through and do things like that, and it was amazing. That was I think that was the most exciting thing. You saw how much talent there was out there, how many people would try to go ahead and do something. And it all wasn't trash. It all wasn't like a throwaway. Some of it was ridiculous, of course. But like, there was a lot of people that, you know, worked hard, and they worked. I think Instagram is 15 seconds video. they worked that 15 seconds. They worked it. So I think that is the future. The user-generated opportunities, different things happening, people taking the risk. If somebody goes ahead and puts together a series, when folks put together a series and they show, I'm going to look at it. I'm not going to, because they put work into it. I know what it takes when you don't have that kind of thing. But at the same time, it's tough. There's no way around it.
So, do you have some final words, Keith? I know you've talked a lot about the network and about your own sort of take on things. So, if there's any closing comments you want to make,
I would say thank you for having me. For most of all, thank all of you guys for coming here. I think Harlem can have a real role in this digital revolution. If you look through the historical power of Harlem and what Harlem has represented, there's been several renaissances that come out of Harlem, and there's absolutely no reason why the power of being digital is something that this cannot be the hallmark for it. So I think it's a good spot to do that with, and I am emphatic, that we just have to, we cannot stop working hard to think about how we communicate and how we use technology, because that is it. The shocking thing about it is that if you look at the value that's been created, you look at the value that's been created, that $3 billion for Beats, that's a real number, and then they developed this service called Beats Music. And, when Apple bought it, they valued that service at about $500 million. $500 million. That's what they valued it at. And it has about 200, maybe 300,000 subscribers. But not because of the number of subscribers they have. They looked at the mousetrap. They built a pretty cool mousetrap, one that's based on curation, not based on different things. I think that's a cool thing. There's a company across the river called Vice here in New York. Started back in my Vibe days out of Canada as a little magazine. They are knocking on the door of a $2.5 billion purchase, or acquisition or valuation, or however you want to cut it. Now, let us be honest. The culture that is fueling, Beats, the culture that's fueling Vice is a culture that has its roots, here in Harlem and in the Bronx and in Brooklyn and other places like that, so. We should clap, but we shouldn't clap. We should clap, but we shouldn't clap. This is the rough equivalent of people in the Middle East saying, "Oh no, here's that oil. No, we don't want that oil. Take it." Yeah, because we're not going to do anything with it. So the oil that we have to protect is the power of our culture, and the way you can protect that is by doing things technologically. You might not be able to match scale. We get daunted because we can't match scale, but you shouldn't worry about that. What you should worry about is excellence in your size. Scale will come because you have the best, Don't get caught up in well, I'm not as big as that, or I'm not as this as that, That is, we have a true opportunity, and it should come from out of Harlem.
that is powerful. Powerful. I love that. So we want to thank Keith for spending the time with us, and we are wishing him all the best with the new network, and whatever we can do to support that, we will, obviously. I still have some of the Verizon guys here, so we can accost them later.
Yes, well, yeah, it was all I could do not to tackle him.
Right.
Yeah. So
I'll hold him down for you. He said he's not afraid. He said he's still here. So, and I want to thank all of you, really, for supporting Silicon Harlem and supporting MIST and this vision. The bar is still open. There's still some food. I'd love to have a drink with all of you. I'll be at the bar. And the T-shirt will be given away tonight. We haven't figured out how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. Probably at the bar somewhere where I'm drinking, we'll probably be giving it away.
If they can guess what the first video ever played on Revolt was.
First video ever played on Revolt.
That's
if you can guess that right now, if you know it, great. If you can guess it, we'll give you a T-shirt right now on behalf of Revolt. Raise your hand if you know the answer. No, well then Google it.
Hey,
Whatever.
Google it. Do what you need to do. Move
Do what
quick,
you got to do.
know?
All right, the first person that approaches me with the answer will get this T-shirt. Okay, Keith. What's the answer?
That was good, man. Thanks so much.